The eShop is constantly covered in new releases. I mean, new games come out on this Nintendo eShop for the Switch all the time, so games do tend to get buried on there, and there was one that I had been playing that I actually ended up really liking, and I didn't really see a lot of reviews for it initially when it had come out, and I believe more have started to show up on different sites like Metacritic and others. But for a while there, I was looking at this and I said, wow, this is a really underrated game, and I still think it kind of is for what it does and how fun it is. Now, I'm talking about the Touryst, and that's from Shin'en. You may know Shin'en from Fast RMX. That's actually where I was really introduced to them. They did a game, I know a lot of people know about Fast Racing Neo as well on the Wii U, but they seem to really have a bit of a breakout with Fast RMX where more people started to know who they were. And when I saw them introduce the Touryst at Indie World, I was a bit surprised because it's not something I was expecting from Shin'en. I know they've done things like port Art of Balance to the Switch and the PlayStation 4, I think, as well. But to see them show up with a game that was so different looking from a lot of stuff that's just on the eShop in general, but especially from them, it was compelling for me to check it out. And after beating it, I kind of sat back and said, you know what? It was a really fun game for $20. So today, let's talk a little bit about the Touryst and what I think of it, what's good about it, what's not so good, and if it's something you should check out. Now, the game starts simple enough. You are literally a tourist. You're going to a group of islands, and you're basically supposed to be on vacation, although you end up doing quite a bit of work. It's something I noticed, that you end up doing a lot of tasks for people on any of the different islands. Some of them are tourists just like you, and then others are more local, we'll say, to the different islands. And you really start with a couple, and then it starts to expand from there. And Shin'en did a very good job, I think, with the visuals here to try to detail and give each island its own characteristics, we'll say. Now, you've probably already seeing it now and noticing this is an odd art style. However, it's one we've had with something like 3D Game Heroes. In fact, when I first saw it at the presentation, that's exactly what I thought of, was, oh, that reminds me of that PlayStation 3 game, 3D Game Heroes, which was a game that I actually really enjoyed, where it has that blocky voxel look. And Shin'en did a very good job playing it up with different lighting effects. It has kind of this blur effect in the background, so if it's too far away from your character in the foreground, it'll kind of all appear blurry behind you. And it's not overly done, but at times I did notice it quite a bit, so it was definitely something that would stick out at times. But I think it's done better than Link's Awakening, although that has some weird issues with its own kind of blurring mechanic there. So anyway, you get to the islands, and then you start to explore, and that's the biggest thing this game tries to get you to do, which is explore. You're supposed to go around, check out the different islands, find things to do, and there's quite a few side quests that you do, and most of the side quests don't take super long. Some of them seem to be designed to go throughout the entire game almost, because there is an overarching plot and idea. There's a big main quest that you do, and along the way you're also doing a bunch of smaller things for other people, and there's quite a bit of variety there. And some of the side quests, like for example taking pictures of certain things, kind of follow you throughout the entire game. You'll get money as you do it, which are little gold coins, and then you can use that to buy other things in the game, whether it's different outfits that'll then let you do more side quests, or special abilities like dashing and double jumping, and that lets you get to different parts of the islands or make certain tasks a little bit easier. It has that tiny bit of Metroidvania to it, very, very, very tiny, but there are times where you'll see something, you can't get to it yet, but then you get an ability and all of a sudden you can. However, I only really noticed that for like 2 or 3 things in the game, so it wasn't like a huge mechanic where it's like, oh, now I can double jump, I'm gonna go to like those 20 other places that I couldn't before. It's really only used in a few certain spots, and a lot of it has to do with the main quest anyway, so you have to get it. In fact, a lot of the characters will tell you, wouldn't it be nice if you could dash and then jump? Either way, you spend your time going around to different monuments, and they are basically dungeons, but there's no combat in these dungeons. It's pretty much all puzzle solving, which I was concerned about at first. However, they even turned the boss battles into their own little puzzles, and it was kind of neat. It was different. I think that's the biggest thing here, is it felt unique to the point where it was interesting and it was fun. Now, there were some aggravating points in these dungeons. That was one of my gripes, was that the camera and parts of the dungeon did not mesh well. There were times where I wished that I could rotate the camera to get a better sense of depth or an idea as to how far something was away that I was jumping to. For example, there were little orbs that I was supposed to be jumping around, and it was tough to tell if they were further in the background or if they closer to me, and it wouldn't have been as bad if they didn't start moving around too. Once they started moving, that was it. I was in trouble. So those parts took a lot longer than they should have, and it mostly came down to the camera fighting you. I don't know if that's something they can fix, but if they can, it would certainly help out those parts. And like I said, outside of the main dungeons that you do and the puzzles you solve in there's a pretty good variety of side quests to do, and they stretch across all of the different islands. And there are some interesting ones. For example, there's an arcade that you go to in a certain island, and you'll be playing different arcade games to then build up and finish a couple of side quests. There was one that was great because it was like Super Breakout, basically, or Brick Breaker, where you'll be, hitting the ball around and it'll be knocking out different blocks, and a few others as well. But that was actually a pretty fun part of the game, was trying to do that. There are also times where you're flying around a drone, or you're doing a surfing contest, or you're just doing pull-ups. There really is a lot to this game in terms of side quest variety, and some of the side quests are very short. Like I said, the pull-up competition took 20 seconds, I think, and it was done. But then you have the surfing competition, and that takes a little more time to get used to the controls and complete it, along with things like the arcade. So it's there's quite a bit of variety, not only in what you're doing, but also how long it takes to complete some of the different side quests. Now, I had talked about the visuals before, and Shin'en, it seems to be very good in getting a lot out of the Switch so far with things like Fast RMX and now the Touryst. The game looks great. I mean, the art style helps, but visually it's very, very sharp and it's smooth. That was my biggest thing. If they want me to platform around, I want it to be very smooth, and it is. It's 1080p at 60 frames per second, like straight up, and it feels great. It does help with a lot of the game, and I do enjoy the way that it looks. Some islands, it's like sundown, and it looks great with the different colors popping off the screen, and then others, it's super bright, and you have the water, and just all of the different islands look really good in this art style, and I did enjoy what Shin'en was able to do with it, and keep the performance in mind as well. Another issue I had with the game is I kind of wish it was just a little bit longer. It's not a very long game. I mean, it's $20, I get it, but the entire game, I played through it. I did a few extra things here and there, but I completed it at, according to it, 74%, because it tells you like a little percentage as to trying to 100% the game. And after doing that, it took me just over 5 hours, about 5 hours and 10 minutes to complete it from start to finish. So this could be a game that if you sat down during the day, that you might actually finish it in one sitting. It's very, very possible, especially if it if you get kind of addicted to playing it and you're having fun, you may end up beating it that time. Like it's something that could catch you off guard, because like in the second act, I was waiting for something else to happen, and it's like, oh, we got to go do this now. No, the game kind of just ends, and you'll understand what I'm talking about here. It's one of those moments where it's like, we can't turn back now, and I thought the game was gonna do something crazy, and just ended up going to credits. I was confused myself on that one. But a 5-hour game at $20, I still think is fair. I feel like I wanted just a bit more. All in all, though, I think Touryst is still a game worth checking out, and it's not going to bloat your micro SD card or even your internal memory. And this is something else Shin'en is known for. This game is just over 200 megabytes. They're very good at really managing file size and making sure you're not downloading gigabytes worth of a game. And when I bought it at $20, I was like, okay, I guess I'll let it download for a bit. It downloaded like right away, and I thought that was very strange. Yes, just over 200 megabytes. So Shin'en, I like this trend. Stick with it. Keep the file sizes in check, and we'll be good to go. Those are my thoughts and some gameplay on the Touryst for you guys. I do hope people check this game out, because I think Shin'en took a bit of a chance here with this. This is much different than what I'm used to from them with something like I said, Fast RMX, but I do appreciate them trying something that might be out of their comfort zone here, and I think it worked out, and I hope more people check it out, and I would recommend it if you're just looking for something to play over the holiday week coming up, and you want something that's less stressful, maybe a bit more relaxing. The Touryst is, I think, one worth checking out, but let me know what you guys think of the game if this is the first time you've seen it, or maybe you've already picked it up and played it. Let me know your thoughts on it, guys, down in the comment section, and make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys next time.